Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Anchoring the Consciousness of Oneness World Summit. I'm Sarah Daves, your co-host for this event, and today I'm talking with Solara Hiro, who's joining us from Maui to discuss consciousness awakening and how to live in harmony with the earth. She's practiced in the healing arts for more than a decade, working with both people and the earth properties, and believes in our ability to have a sustainable future where people can live in peace and harmony with each other, animals, plants, minerals, and everything that inhabits the earth. So thank you for joining us, Solara. I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you are an energy healer on a mission to help people awaken to their inner power and connection. Can you explain a little bit about what that looks like, what type of work that you do, and how you help others?
Um, yeah, I do like sessions with people where I use different modalities of healing. I also work with crystals. I work with the angels. I've recently started to work with some dragons that I got, these ones.
Oh, wow. What are those? Those are crystals?
They're custom made. They're like the Oregon pyramids. So they're like they have all the crystals and gems and stuff inside. So they're not made out of crystal, but they have them inside. And they're like dragons. So they connect with the dragon energy, with the inner power, and with the earth. They're really like strong and powerful. So they're really amazing. So that's my newest thing. And other than that, I've worked with crystals, angels, dolphin energy, whale energy. Yeah, whatever comes through my channel, basically.
Wow. So it sounds to me like you have a lot of different modalities that you use. How do you know which one to choose?
It just comes through. So it depends on the person. It depends what they need in the moment.
Yeah, okay. And so, but I am I'm really interested in this dragon energy work with all the crystals in the inside. So you said that that brings like helps people access their inner power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I love that very much. So like can you tell me a little bit about like how it helps people access that space within?
Okay, so the dragons, they work with our inner power. They work with our dragon energy, duh. They work with the Kundalini energy. They bring it up, from the earth. I mean, maybe some people are not familiar with Kundalini energy, but the Kundalini energy, it's like our life force energy. It's connected to our root chakra, to our sexual energy. And when it awakens, it starts to come up, and it feels really hot and electrical. It's like the electrical current from the earth is very earthy too, and it brings in your power. So instead of like when we work with the angelic beings, with the spiritual realms, we bring it from the heavens down. So the Kundalini comes from the earth and it comes up.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's a very different type of energy. So
Yes.
yeah, so this is becoming empowered and very like I want to say grounded in the
Mm-hmm.
Kundalini energy. That's helpful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming from above, the energy coming down into the body. How would you explain that?
What do you mean?
So the Kundalini energy is a very like standing in your power and like
Mm-hmm.
accessing that. Has connections with the root chakra and your sexual energy, all things earthly. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm hearing you say. And
Yeah.
so, what does the other type of energy healing look like when it comes from the opposite way, from
Um,
up to down?
Yeah, so the other one, it's more like kind of like angelic, heavenly, very high vibrational. The earth energy is high vibrational too, but it's in a different way. So the spiritual energy would be more like what people consider like woo-woo. It's very etheric, it's very gentle and soft, and it's kind of more hard to feel really in your body because it's so high vibrational and like light type of energy. And the Kundalini, it's more like, oh, like it burns and it's electrical and it enlivens you and it but then they go really well together, because if you only have one half, it's just one, it's kind of like one half, because it's like we have all of our chakras in our body. Most people think of it as 7. So you would have the root, the navel, and the solar plexus in the stomach. So that's more like the Kundalini, but it goes, if it goes all the way up, it goes all the way to the crown. And then the one that comes in, it starts at the crown and it goes down to your heart, and you can also anchor it all the way into the earth. So when both are together activated, it's like really powerful, because you both have the earthly energies and the like heavenly energies, kind of like, you know, like the sun energy. That's how I always see it. We have the earth, and then we have the sun, and then they balance in the heart.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's really beautiful. So, yeah. All right. So we're in the theme of anchoring the consciousness of oneness, okay? You're talking about bringing two halves together, or two pieces together to create a whole. So how does that help us raise our own frequency? Like, yeah, I know, like, whatever a person needs, you'll tap into that. You'll be able to give them that energetic healing. But so let me ask you this. Let me just ask you this. If you're out of balance in a particular way where you really need that grounding energy, what does that look like? Like, what does it look like for a person to be walking kind of through the world in desperate need of earth grounding healing energy?
They will feel like, you'll feel really floaty and kind of like scattered, like you can't really focus, and you can't feel you literally usually can't feel your feet. You know, you're like really here in your mind, in your mental world, or up in the ethers, in the spiritual realm. And then you will also not be able to really manifest anything. It will stay in ideas and thoughts, and could even be highly spiritual visions and things, but you won't be able to really like bring them into the physical realm.
Oh, wow. So being grounded in earth energy is actually crucial for manifesting in the physical.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Okay. And so what does it look like on the opposite spectrum when somebody's like super grounded and totally cut off from spiritual energy, or what would you call it?
Will feel really heavy and dense, you know, and when I think of that, I think more of people who are really pragmatic and practical, but they might not be in touch so much with their dreams and their vision, because that's more the, you know, the opposite spectrum. So when you have both together, you can, you know, you can dream and fantasize is really powerful, and envision, and then with that earthly energy you can bring it into action and into manifestation.
Great. So you actually do need both parts to move through the world as we see it in this reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, so that leads me to talk about a little bit about nature. Like, how do you work within that realm of nature? I know that you work with animals or dolphins, or you at least have a story about that.
Yeah, I work not so much with the animal dolphin as with the spirit dolphin. So yeah, and then with the dragons, they're also, yeah, animals in a way. I believe they live inside of the earth. And then of course the dolphins swim in the ocean, but they are also very multidimensional. And also I work a lot with the whales, and I kind of work also with dolphin beings and whale beings. That is like super woo woo, but they're like from, you know, the different planets, from yeah, they're extraterrestrial, they're like humanoids. So when I first saw them, they're like you know, they're upright, but they have the face of the dolphin. And when I first always saw them, they would be cloaked. So after a while, I wondered, why are they cloaked? But then they have just this enormous, bright, multidimensional light So they were like, I couldn't really see that. So they would just wear the cloaks. So, they wouldn't like, I don't know, like explode me with their light or something.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool. And so that leads me to like think about who we are, what we're doing here. Like you're talking about multidimensional beings that are like that you can access to help in the healing of people. But who are we?
Yeah, I believe we are also multidimensional, and we are, we're human beings when we're here, but we are really so much more. But we like, when we are born, we forget, we get the veil, and then we think, oh, we're just in this physical world with everything physical and everything solid. And then once we start to awaken, and some of us do that earlier than others or have less veil than others. But once we really start to awaken, we start to realize, that there's more, and that like, yeah, that basically everything is energy, and even science has started to see that, where they have these high powered microscope and you can see straight through things. So we think it's physical and it's solid, but it's actually, on a different level, on a microcosm, it's more space than matter. It's really fascinating to me. And I really like it when like the science catches up with, all the things that is in the spiritual community already known for, I don't know, many, 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 many years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a knowledge that that isn't widely known but becoming more and more known, and when you see that happening in the scientific community, it is very exciting. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. It makes it more accessible to everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I truly feel, that we are in this place in our humanity where we're beginning to wake up. Would you
Hmm.
agree?
Yes, definitely. It's really exciting times. Like I think I was, well, I know I was born with a higher awareness than most people. So I always had this different view of life, and no one shared that. So it was very difficult. I felt very, different and like an alien. I literally felt like an alien, like they dropped me off on the wrong planet or something, with the wrong parents in the wrong place. It was like, what the heck, like I know all these things, and like everyone thinks it's abnormal. And like, as I started like watching when I was a little older, science fiction type things, I was like, oh yeah, here it's normal. Like I always believed that, I knew that we can heal ourselves, but we forgot how. And I myself didn't really remember how to do that until I enrolled with teachers to do energy healing. Then I could just do it very easily. But even when I was a child, I was like, people forgot that, but we can do that. I also always thought we should be able to like kind of manipulate time and manipulate space, where we could just transport ourselves somewhere else. So when that showed up in like these TV shows and stuff, I was like, oh my goodness, like, because I already had those ideas before I saw them in TV. So I didn't get it from the TV, but it was like a confirmation, that I'm not the only one thinking that. And I cannot transport myself somewhere, and not yet at least. I do know how to heal, but it's like really amazing. And to see the changes, like just now we had the elections, and there's so many like different types of people now elected, like women and someone openly gay and all that, and different races. It's really exciting, because it really means that, we're like opening up to, a new reality where everything is more inclusive. And it's not so much, because in the past, it's like we've separated and put everything in boxes and categories and different people. And then we all feel like, we're separate from each other. We're separate, I don't know, from other planets. We're separate from God, everything. And now it's more and more coming back into unification. And you can see it out in the world. And to me, it's like really exciting. It's like, yeah, finally it's happening. I've been waiting for so long.
Yes. Yes, because unity is already a truth, right? In the process
Yes,
of unification,
yeah.
yeah, we're slowly coming back together or
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that there is no separation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that must mean that we're all doing this together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're not here with all these people for no reason. There's like 6.5 billion people. If, you know, it's for a reason. We're all in it together.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you believe and feel is our collective mission or purpose here? What are we all doing here?
I believe we are here to learn and grow and to like come back into unity and to remember that we are one, and to put that into a physical practice.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's really interesting too, because in this 3D reality, all we see is separateness, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see that, like I'm my own person, very separate from you, and even like like the paper or the holder, this is not has nothing to do with me. It's very separate. And so, would you say um, that the reason for that is in order, well, I don't know. I'd like to know what you think. I'm thinking more about like this 3D reality is set up for us to recognize the contrast of what is, right? So how do we know what oneness is unless we know what it is not?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Yeah, that is what I always used to think. That is like what everyone seems to think. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it myself. Like I see it like, there's all these different dimensions, and our dimension, well, I don't even think we really live in the third dimension anymore, because the earth is ascending into the fifth dimension.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm not quite sure where we are in the dimensions. I'm pretty sure we're not in the third dimension anymore. We're somewhere in between the fourth and the fifth. So that's why we're also waking up to that, because we're already there, but then we are still holding on to the past, because we grew up like that. We have all these belief systems. That is normal, but the normal is like changing right now. So it's way different. And we've just been, to me, we've been playing a game. We've been pretending like we are separate and we're different, and like we have duality in the third dimension, light and dark, black and white, and high and tall, and female and masculine. And it's just like this game we're playing. And we're now, I guess we're just starting to play a different game now, where we're just moving back into oneness and just remembering who we really are. And yeah, just kind of finishing up the old game.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so like coming out of the third dimensional space, this is we've been socialized for a very long time in that space, and with all of our systems and things, and we believe that's what is, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how can we personally um, assist our body and psyche to adapt to the new frequency?
Well, there's a lot of things we can do. One really important thing, I think the most important thing that's easy to do, is drink a lot of clean water, because we are mostly water. And if we drink enough water, like, it flushes out the toxins. Also, when we have spiritual changes, emotional changes, mental changes, it still reflects in the body. So it's good to assist it with the water. And because also the planet is raising its frequency itself, we're automatically raising our frequency, kind of whether we want to or not. Only we can assist it to make it more smooth, or if we don't assist it, it will be more challenging. There will be more, challenging life situations. There can be physical challenges, there can be emotional challenges, there can be mental challenges, which is really hard for a lot of people. And just the water is, I think that is the most important thing. And also to go out in nature is very, very, very important. Even if it's just, it depends on where you live. Some places, like I live in Hawaii, it's so easy to go to the beach, or it's, the weather is never really bad. It might rain, but it's still warm. So you can always go outside, it's easy. But if you live more in an urban environment, maybe there's not too much nature. You can also always bring plants into your home and nurture them and take care of them, so you have that connection. Or you can just, have a little garden or something. Even also, if you don't have garden space, you can make a little garden with pots, or what are those things called? Like the rectangle boxes, to put plants in.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing. And other than that, secondary, I would say it's really important to eat organic food. As much alive living foods as possible, more into the direction of plants, because if you eat animals, it has a different vibration than when you eat plants, because plants, they live from the sunlight, so they metabolize that. So if you eat that, you're literally eating sunlight, and it's really important.
Yeah, things that are alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what other ways can we teach ourselves to, or support our own vibration rising? I know that you said get out in nature, be careful, like watch what you eat, or eat things that are grown from sunlight, drink lots of water. Is there anything else that we can do?
Yeah, there's lots of things we can do. I don't want to overload people with too much information. Yeah, so what is also, of course, really good to do is to meditate, to really get quiet, get introspective, go into yourself. It's easier to do that in nature than, in your home. But in your home, you can do it also. I like to myself, I love guided meditation. So I pick things that I resonate with, and I, do it before bed. So I have a 4-year-old, so it's a little challenging to just sit down and meditate. So I save it before bed, and I just do the guided meditation, and I usually fall asleep with it, and I have a really good sleep. I wake up in a really good vibration. And also I love working with crystals. So you could just carry them with you. You can have crystal jewelry that you wear, like a pendant or a ring or a bracelet or something. And you can have put crystals in your home. It's really nice to do. And you can meditate with them. It's amazing. Or put them under your pillow. That's also really great.
Oh yeah, so when you're sleeping, you can have right under your pillow. Yeah, so you've talked about hematite. You've talked about jasper. What do those crystals do? How do you work with those?
Yeah, they are very grounding. So hematite is really great when you feel affected by negative energy. It transforms the energy into positive energy. So it doesn't repel it or anything. It just changes it. So it's a really great healing stone. And jasper is very more connected to the earth. I mean, they're all connected to the earth, but it has more of it works more on the root chakra and the navel chakra. Oh. And other crystals that are really great actually is just quartz to purify, just this kind. They're really great. I have them all around me too all the time. It's really awesome. And a really good one for sleep is actually smoky quartz. It will absorb bad dreams and stuff. So it's really good to have that one.
Oh, that's really interesting because I actually sleep with one of those under my pillow.
Oh, that's so funny. See, we all know. It's just this knowledge, it's sleeping inside of us, but we all know everything. because we are everything.
Yeah. 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 So, like we're talking about like what we can do for ourselves, and um, and that's gonna lift everybody else up, like we were talking about.
Hmm.
How about the earth? I mean, we know the earth is it takes care of itself, doesn't it? But
It
are there
does,
but
especially when we don't interfere with it, because that's the biggest problem. We keep drilling oil and taking out resources and polluting and putting plastic all over the place. It's yeah, but if we don't, it takes care of itself. Even actually the wildfires, like it's kind of normal for forests to burn once in a while. It's actually necessary for the health of the forest, but people are preventing that by protecting it. And then what happens is you get this huge wildfire destroying everything. So yeah, it's like crazy. Like the earth has its way, it is balanced. The earth itself, actually any natural being is, they all keep each other in balance. Only us humans like do all this crazy stuff and keep it out of balance. It's really crazy, but also that is changing. I'm really happy to see that like people are starting to become aware of plastics. There are all these projects, to take care of the waste and also to manufacture more sustainable things. Here on Maui, where I live, I see more and more when I go to places, they'll have like, how do you say that, paper straws instead of plastic straws, and all kinds of good stuff is happening. It's really exciting.
yeah, yeah, it really is. We do see more and more opportunities to participate in a different way, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. And then the balance, can restore itself. I don't think we have to go and like save the earth or something. We just have to stop polluting so much and find, and a way that we can help is to stop polluting, first place. And then second place, of course, is like you can say stop the plastic, but of course you need an alternative. So you need also to find alternatives and support those alternatives when you find them. That's really important.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question about what you think the future is going to look like here when we experience a new earth. And by that, I mean, we recognize our connection with all that is. And yeah, what does that look like? What do you think?
That is such a good question. I've never had a question before. I think it's just like mind blowing that in a way we can't barely even really think about it yet. It will just be so completely different because like when we really come to that place, it will be no war, no greed, no pollution. Probably our vehicles will be different, our houses will be different, the way we do everything will be different, the schools will be different. It's like, yeah, it's going to be amazing though. I feel like we will just really live in community, like I feel like how the ancient people used to live that we don't know so much about because it's not really in our history books, but some of us remember that, the really ancient like Lemuria before, things went bad and Atlantis and stuff. And it's like, just in community with sustainable renewable energy sources where we stop taking from the earth, we just start living in harmony with the earth, because there are ways to harness energy that do not take away from or are competitive, because I feel like a lot of that is a greed based business. I think there is knowledge how we can have things in a good way already, but it's been more suppressed because they can make money off of it. So, and I think also money as it is now will probably disappear, or if it doesn't, it will be different. But I don't think we will need it, because when we realize we are all one, we can just share. Like then we don't have to compete or take away from, or this is mine and that is yours. We can just all lovingly take care of everything and share it as needed, and then we won't need so much. You know, we don't need like a car for every person, and maybe houses, I think, will be nice to have our own houses, because I think it's really important, even when we are more advanced, to have our own space. But yeah, we will build them differently with sustainable materials and things that can breathe and that are like healthy for us to live in.
Yeah. So one of the other speakers who is actually being featured on the same day as you, Albert Moore, talks about, he's a retired urban designer. He talks about in a new earth, the houses grow themselves. They're totally natural.
That is amazing. Yeah, I can totally see that. I remember like one time on Maui, I've had all these magical adventures here. Though I met a man, and he said that he remembered how we were elves together, and we would like we would like play the flute to grow our house or something like that, like a forest cottage, you know, like amazing.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love that, and it's like, yeah, because we're kind of in this space right now. With the prior conversation about the dolphins, and then how that synchronized, and then this is really good. I love it. Yeah. So yeah, it's hard for us to really even imagine what it's going to look like or be like or feel like, because we are still in somewhat, well, you know, we're getting there, but we're still living in separation, where that's still our reality, right?
Yeah, that's why it's so good to really like meditate, but not just meditate and try to quiet your thoughts and stuff, but really like fantasize, you know, like a little kid, just daydream and fantasize, and like what would it be like, what would it feel like, how would I feel, how would everything feel. And because it creates our reality, you know, we forget that. We get taught, like I used to daydream all the time, and I got trained out of it at school, because you're not supposed to do that. You need to sit still and do your work, pay attention. And then my parents were also not so quite aware, so they didn't really, you know, support the daydreaming, or they, oh, that's just fantasy, like blah blah blah, whatever, you know. And then I had to go, you know, on a whole journey to get back to that place, you know, that I stopped fantasizing, I stopped really envisioning. And when I started to do my healing training and my healing practice, I got back into that. And then, you know, to spiritual people, those fantasies are actually real. You know, you'll do a meditation and people will go places, and sometimes you go to the same places. It's like amazing. It's like magical to me, you know, but magic is real. So it's like, it's really important to stay connected with that, and really envision things for yourself, and also in groups together, and, you know, to help the energy to create itself, to manifest itself in our current reality now.
Yeah, and you said something that I really like about being a kid and being lost in your imagination. I was too. I was lucky enough to have a dad who let me exist there a lot. Um, but what would you say to parents who are, you know, trying to make sure that their kids, you know, grow up and are successful in the world and can walk through the world? You know, that feels like we need to socialize them on some level. But what would you say about the imagination?
Oh yeah, it's so important to support that. Like, we need to really nurture them. That's the most important thing, that they, when they are nurtured, they feel safe, you know, they feel confident, they have the courage to be themselves. And like, if they have imaginary friends, like, I don't see a problem with that. Like, my son has imaginary friends. I love it. I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, the big bad wolf is here. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, oh yeah, is he scaring you? And he goes, no, he's my friend. I'm like, oh, good. That's great. You know, like, I totally support that. And like, for socializing, I think it's just really important that they get to play with other kids and be with other people and different kinds of people. And also, like, you know, kids don't really learn from what we teach them with our words. They really learn from who we are being, and what we do, and what they feel from us, even more than what they see from us. But for me as a child, it was really confusing, because I always, and I think I'm not alone in that. I think a lot of kids have that, but I still remember that. Like, people would tell me things, and when I would feel the opposite, and it was really confusing to me, and it made me really kind of doubt myself, like, you know, my version of reality, and what I am sensing. And now I know, like, you know, because as a child I assumed that people are just honest, which wasn't the correct assumption, but I didn't know, because in my innocence I was honest. So I expected that back, but it wasn't always the case. And then as I grew older, you know, I learned, oh, okay, people put on masks, they don't feel safe, they're just, you know, they're not being bad or anything, they're just like trying to, you know, put on their best face, or, you know, they try to teach you something, or they're just maybe vulnerable and afraid to just be themselves. But I didn't know that as a child. So I really had that place where what I sensed and what I heard and saw was different. It was very difficult. So if you can just be like open and honest with your kids, even about like the bad stuff, when you may be angry or upset, I just tell my son, oh, I'm angry about this and upset, and you know, we can talk about it, and then he understands. And I think it's also really important, because he will be able to also, you know, he has that model where as he grows up, he'll be able to say, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm sad, and he can just talk about it. And we just, you know, we just hug and kiss and make up, and, you know, then everything is good again. It's just
Yeah,
easy.
I love that. I love that. It's, I mean, we're here as human beings in our bodies, experiencing the full range of human emotion. And if we didn't, if we weren't supposed to feel that, we wouldn't be feeling it, right? So we tend to
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. It makes us whole. We have everything, you know, and there's a different, it's a difference too about like dwelling in something or just moving through it. Like, it's called, you know, emotion, energy in motion. It needs to move, you know? So it's like, if it's okay to be upset, angry, sad, whatever, you know, it's okay to express that. You know, I mean, as long as you don't go, I don't know, throwing rocks through the window or something. You can just be like, oh, I'm angry. And this, if you just voice it, it already starts to change. And then you can just, you know, work through it, feel it, you know, and when you can accept it, it moves very fast through you. But on the moment you start to suppress it, put on a happy face, it like lingers and it grows. And at one point it will explode. And that's definitely not so healthy. It's much better to just, you know, acknowledge any feeling that you have. And, you know, you can, if it's connected with another person, you can talk about it, or if it's not possible or uncomfortable, you can process it on your own until you really have a good sense of if it does need to be worked on with the other person a bit, you can talk to that person. Or, you know, what I do sometimes is you can just address the higher self of the person, you know, in energy. So you don't even have to go and talk to the person. You can just kind of work it out on an energetic level. And it usually, you know, does the trick.
Yeah, I love it. So the only way to move through negative or to deal with negative emotions is to move through it. You can't go walk around. You can't stuff because it all comes up. Yeah. And so we weren't going to talk about this, but I love that we're talking about this. This is really cool. The people who experience depression, you know, a lot of times what I've noticed, and I don't, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but just my noticing is that we are taught often that we are not supposed to be angry, especially as women. Now, and I know a lot of men that were taught the same thing, you know, because anger from a man can be considered dangerous, right? Anger from a woman is considered very bad behavior. um, so, but the vibration of anger is actually higher than it is when you're depressed, when you're feeling those lower levels of, maybe it's grief, or maybe it's, I don't know, just feeling sad or shame or whatever. when you move up to anger, you're empowering yourself. It doesn't mean you have to stay there, but that's the next level, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it is empowering, because what it's designed to do is it moves you into action, so you can do something about what you feel. You can even like link it to passion. Like lately, I've been working a little with my dragons that I just got. So I just got them like a week ago or something. So I've been really working with that energy. And I also am a human, so I have anger sometimes. And now I feel more like it's passion, and I can move into action and do something about it, and not you can choose. You could do it in a destructive way, but that's usually what happens when you repress it, or when you like judge it, or resist it. That's the worst to do, is to resist it, and then like it grows and grows because you're not allowing it to move, but it wants to move you into action, to do something about it. And then you get into your passion, and that's like really helpful. So, but yeah, our society has definitely taught us that. And I think it also, especially with men, it teaches them, oh, boys don't cry. But like the crying is releasing it. So it's so healthy to cry, And there's like, it's so silly that that's made so wrong.
Yes, yes. I mean, that truly is a release. And someone else that's going to be a part of this summit was talked about, that crying, like we grieve our different like stages of life, like even. So like crying is necessary for us to move through stuff, right? And so I think that the message that you're saying here is our emotions are everything.
Yeah, they're part of us, So they're like, Abraham Hicks talks about that. That's like the emotional guidance system. You can like see where you are. And I totally, I feel like that too. And it's really helpful because I don't know. But the way I see it from my perspective is just like, we are whole, we are all, we are everything. So that's part of us, it isn't like this half that is good or light or positive. It's everything. And together it's balance. The plus and the minus make balance, they equal each other out. And then when you come to that space, then you're not like all like happy and stuff, but you're more like neutral and calm and peaceful. But we have the whole spectrum. So yeah, it's really important to just, especially being human, we're kind of lucky we have that, because when we have, for example, the angelic beings, they don't know that. They don't have any emotion. They're just always, would you even call that? I would say happy, but with them, it is not happy because they have one thing. And it's not, they don't have all these fluctuations, and they experience that through us. So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we are like, this is a tough incarnation as a human being, it's not always easy. And but the beauty of it is the contrast. So yeah, I mean, if we just hung around in the ethereal, in our light beings, selves, we're just experiencing joy all the time. And so, but how do you know what joy feels like unless you know the other, right?
Yeah, and like, how do you grow when you're just content all the time? We don't grow. That's what I learned from one spiritual teacher. She said that the angels, they are assigned to assist us. And like we think as humans that they are above us and kind of better than us, and we're just humans and they're up high and they have achieved something and we haven't. But it's not really like that. Like they learn from us because they're with us. They can see how we are with our emotions, and, they can kind of experience that through us. But like where they are not really growing anymore because they're content. They're just completely content. And we as humans are usually like never, ever, ever content because there's always contrast. And then makes us want to grow and learn and find out who we are. And so she says we can actually access higher truths than even the angels, because we have that drive, like we want to grow, we want to know who we are, and we want higher truths and higher truths and higher truths, because we are not content, you know. So they are learning from us and we are learning also from them, and you know, we can call them in for assistance, and you know, they are just with us, taking care of us. So it's kind of like, you know, we're equal, you know, we're just different.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, so I think that people listening to this can walk away with the tools that you've mentioned about how to lift their own vibrations and elevate their consciousness. And then that in itself helps to elevate the collective. And then you touched so much on emotion. Like, I really love that, because I think I talk about this a lot, how I believe that the West has sort of misunderstood detachment, in that we think that detachment means we don't feel anything. You can just kind of transcend above the emotion. But no, that's not where it's at. So thank you for clarifying all of that. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yes. Okay. So thank you to everyone watching, and to learn more about Solara and the work that she's doing, you can visit solaraenergyweaving.com. And you can also reach out to her in our Facebook group, the Oneness Summit Facebook group, and ask her any questions that you like. Yes, so thank you again, Solara. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I appreciate you too. And thanks for everyone tuning in.
Yes, and love and light to everyone. And thank you again for being here. We appreciate you.